Hi, you're watching a special recorded session of Astro Awani, and I'm very, very honored because I have the Chief Minister of Sarawak beside me, and Tan Sri, Datuk Patinggi Adenan Satem, you have just passed the 1 year mark of being there in the hot seat.
That's right.
But before I go and ask about the development or maybe some snippets about the coming and impending state elections, I would like to know more about how you look at the 1 year that has passed and how has it been for you, because you've worked in Australia in the early beginning of your career, you've even been in the federal seat, and now you're back in Sarawak. So how has it been the past 1 year for you?
Very interesting and very exciting. I think I have made some policy decisions which has changed the scenery, the political scenery somewhat. I have asked for increase in our royalty rate, and I think eventually we'll get it later on, but not so soon. I've asked Petronas to be more active in Sarawak. They have been quite active, but I want them to be more active, and now they seem to be more active. I've reduced the electricity rate for domestic users, and eventually it will also cover commercial and industrial users. I've also made some move towards recognition of Chinese education, especially those Chinese schools which in what are called independent Chinese schools, which are not assisted by the federal government, on an interim basis, not on a random basis, not on a regular basis, but they've been quite happy with that. I intend to later on negotiate with companies to do away with toll on our roads. I think the companies should be quite receptive, of course, in return for something else. But Sarawak people don't like to pay tolls, so eventually our negotiations will succeed, and they don't have to pay toll. I expect to make an announcement on this matter in late April or June. This one. There are many policy moves regarding to land administration, encouraging building of houses, property development, and I've loosened some of the rules regarding subdivision of land. If the land is, if the mother land, as it were, is in perpetuity and you want to convert it, subdivide and convert the land, then the same period shall apply from equity from perpetuity to perpetuity, from 99 to 99. We used to reduce the period before, but I don't think it's fair to the developers and even house buyers. So we have changed that one. And I think this will have some impact. We have started, of course, some years back on the survey of native customary land, which is very particular to Sarawak. And we started 3 years ago, I think, more than 3 years ago, to give the native assurance that this is their land and not land with just like that, untitled, unrecognized. So this land will be, this NCR land, native customary land, will be gazetted, akan diwartakan, which is almost equivalent to issuing title, but this one to a group of people. So there's so many other initiatives we started in the last year or so, and we'll continue with that policy.
That's right, it looks like you've...
Oh yes, there is a fight against timber, illegal felling of timber.
Illegal logging.
Illegal logging of timber. This thing has been going on for years and years, and now beginning to take action, and we're showing some results already. We carry raids almost every day, and we better put a stop to it. Not totally, of course, but we will continue until the last log is accounted for.
Tan Sri, if I might put in my views here. You sound very in tune.
Sorry?
You sound very in tune with the politics of the 21st century, the social movement. When I interviewed President Jokowi, he was talking about the same thing, not big projects, but unleashing the potential for the bottom 40%, the one before, making it easier.
There is a rural-urban cleavage.
Yes.
If you want to find where the rich people are, you go to the towns and cities.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go where the poor people are, go to the rural areas. There is a big disparity there in terms of income, social services, and social amenities. Now, it's never too late, of course, but we'll put emphasis on rural development now. Basically, rural development means road, water, electricity, road, water, electricity, road, water, electricity.
Mm-hmm.
We start with that.
Yes.
That will be the basis of further development and economic activity.
Okay.
So we have developed the rural areas, but not perhaps as intensive as we would want it to be. But from now onwards, I think we'll be more intensive in our efforts. For instance, Prime Minister is coming over sometime next month, I think, at the end of this month, to start this Borneo highway. This will bring economic change for the better, of course, in the rural areas.
Tan Sri, we have to go for the first commercial break, but once we are back, I like the example of opening up to the bottom 40%, as UN put it. However, how do you see, once we are back, I'm just parking the question first, how do you see, the moment we have a highway, how would that benefit people who are along the highway first? Because otherwise, people's big capitals come in and do big projects. We'll go to the first break, and once we are back, we'll get the views from Tan Sri after this. You are still watching a special recorded session of Astro Awani, exclusively with the Chief Minister of Sarawak. Tan Sri, you mentioned the Borneo Highway and other projects to develop the rural side of Sarawak. But with development will come other things. So the disparity of, for example, qualifications, skills, education, all this, how do you empower the rural community to benefit the most?
Let us understand that a road is not just going from one point to another point. As you go along the road, you will develop the land. The value of the land will go up, economic activity will be enhanced. And a few examples of this is in my old constituency of Moratuang. I used to represent this area so many years ago. Now, when we build roads and so on, the number of cars and motorcycles especially increased by leaps and bounds. In the old days, if you go along Moratuang Road, you can hardly find another car coming in the opposite direction. But nowadays, there's a traffic jam. But it goes to show that the people in the area can afford to have a car, or at least a motorcycle, and they're more mobile, and they can sell their goods much easier. When the market will be opened up to them. So, for instance, just things like pineapple and so on, they just don't sell it in their own kampung. The market is widened and expanded for them. So other agricultural produce. And many of them, I think, quite well to do. I can tell, if they go to Haji and Umrah and so on, that means they do it,
So you really have a good feeling of the Borneo Highway?
Oh yes, definitely. And as you know, Sarawak is very, very rural. I mean, one state is as big as the whole of Malaya put together. And very, and thinly populated, especially in the rural interior areas. So we have to get to these areas. There are about 5,000 villages spread all over the place. And communication is the one important thing for them.
So how do you see migration also might increase?
The reason for rural to urban migration is because economic activities in the rural areas have been very poor over many years. So they migrate to the town to find a new, because the jobs are there, the facilities are there, so they migrated. And but if you improve the rural areas, not so much on par with the cities, that's quite impossible, then you will generate economic activity. You will create a multiplier effect. Then one thing leads to another, and then that will provide jobs and so on, and other economic activities for trade, commerce, and so on. But right now, of course, we are all going to industrialize the state. We cannot be dependent simply on commodities or agriculture. So we need technicians, we need skilled manpower. And we are developing that now. We're splitting up colleges, technical schools, and so on. The number of technically trained people, especially young people, is increasing. And this will provide the skills for industrial development. That is why we're inviting foreign investment, create jobs and so on, economic activities, especially in the middle of Sarawak and the Bintulu, Melajau areas. And of course plantations and so on. Unfortunately, of course, in plantation, we have to depend on foreign labor. I think we got no choice. We have no choice on this one. Of course, we prefer local labor as much as we can. But local people are not forthcoming on this one. But eventually you must gear a policy, design a policy that will favor local labor, at least to 30-40% of the local labor, and pay them well. Sometimes employers are not prepared to pay them well, and they're going to be dependent on cheap labor. So I think that is one direction of policy that we have to amend, change what we did.
When in Moratwang and the experiences gained there, and of course there will be wish lists when you were there at the constituency level that maybe you don't have enough club to get it done. For example, what did you bring with you right up until now, and now you can make that decision and make that power to change?
Well, with power comes responsibility.
Okay.
So, of course, as the chief executive of a state, I have more power, more facilities than the ordinary leader would agree. But it's also a big responsibility. But I see using that power to benefit more effectively the people, the country around me. It will be more effective. As Adenan Satem agree, you only request, you advise, but the chief executive, you give the order. So it's more effective that way.
What is your best memories growing up in Sarawak that stays with you until you are now as a chief executive? Because sometimes things like that drive our vision for the state.
I've always liked to go to the countryside. I remember my friends, used to say things against me because I like to go hunting, I like to go fishing and so on to the countryside. But that is because that is the way I learned how it is or how difficult it is to live in a rural area. So I have some empathy for rural people, even though I am born in the town, into a somewhat privileged situation. But now I know, after all these many years, what it means to be poor, what it means to have no hope, and so on. And that the first thing we must do is education, uplift people through education.
As we're going for the last commercial break, but once we are back, I would like to turn up the heat a bit. I want to cram up so many questions into one segment. People have always looked at Sarawak as a voting bank, leveraging against what's in Peninsula, but I want to reverse that. There's a lot of things for the peninsular type of politics to learn from the plural diversity of Sarawak. So let's get Tan Sri's views on always press for time with great people. Tan Sri, I just want to go straight. You know there's an impending state election for Sarawak. But before I go there, a lot of people in Peninsula, and of course media is based mainly in Peninsula, so the chatter about politics is mainly Peninsula politics driven. But if I take a leaf out of Sabah and Sarawak in particular, the diversity, pluralism, that colors the politics of Sarawak. Certain things that's so sensitive in the Peninsula is a non-issue in Sarawak.
One Malaysia concept had been practiced in Sarawak long before our Prime Minister advocated it. You see, Sarawak is not just Melayu, Cina, India. Sarawak is Melayu, Cina, some India, Dayak, Iban, Bedayo, Orang Ulu, and so on, for 30 over communities. And all in many years we have lived in peace and harmony with one another. You know, there is this Indonesian Garuda, the symbol of Indonesia. Underneath is written Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. So we are a diverse people, but we are united in one thing, to live with each other in peace and harmony. Now, that's one thing. Two, I think of late, we are very sad to notice there's some degree of polarization among the major regions, especially in West Malaysia. I think they've got a few things to learn from us, instead of just the other way around. So if they just follow what we have been practicing all the years, maybe we manage to calm the things down a bit.
But like the last state election, and I was there with a crew of Astro Awani, there will be a lot of Peninsula politicians trying to go there and campaign this way. Your hope and your own view for the impending, the next state election for Sarawak?
Sarawak politics is very different from West Malaysian politics.
Okay.
One, that there are no, in West Malaysia there are no Dayak, except those who work here. But we have to deal with all this rural population, underdevelopment, basic infrastructure, and so on. These are what the people need. They don't care very much about human rights or what it is. That is a luxury we cannot afford yet. But we practice later on when it comes to that. But basic necessities, these are what the people require. And it has been a bastion of the Pakistan National, because we are the only party that brings in all these developments. The amount of projects that bring up, and the opposition, they just talk. I mean, and they know how to talk, of course, but that's about all there is to it. And they manage not to convince people, except those, I must say, in the urban areas, who are really sophisticated anyway. So, but not the rural people. So, we deliver the goods so far. Maybe not enough, but we continue to do that. And because of this sort of situation, which is quite difficult, some brand of West Malaysian politics is not acceptable in Sarawak. They might be polite enough to smile and nod their heads and so on, but they know you're talking about their heads.
So if I request for you to wear the hat of a BN leader here, do you see a better result this time around as compared to the last one for BN then?
I have done my calculation. God willing, of course, we'll win the state election enough to form a government. The question is whether it is 2/3 or not. Well, that's basically what it is. I've asked for, I think there's going to be an increase in the number of seats, I think. I think we can, now it's from 71 to 82, isn't it? So I think we can win majority and perhaps even 2/3, or even more than that. As it stands now, we have 55 Pakistan, I think, and 16 opposition. We might end up with the same proportion.
Or even better?
Even better, hopefully, of course. Yeah.
Any idea of when it might be, in your own view?
The new one will expire automatically on 20th June 2016. So I might call for election anytime then, anytime before that time. But let's keep the opposition guessing.
Okay.
I won't repeat it now.
You were also looking at the environment on the federal level, and you
Yes.
talk about development, the highway, and that's core. That's the big, huge gem there. So how do you look at the glamour of going green, the pressure of climate change consideration, and at the same time developing? Meaning, you still could have your hunting and going into the rivers with the clear water, but you want development.
We can have sustainable development. I mean, development and protecting the environment can go together. It has been done in Europe, but it must be done with its limits. In fact, I was the first person, about 30 years ago, I think it was 1979, I think it was, who first talked about the environment. I mean, people were laughing at me then. They said, what, apa itu environment and all that. But I said, why do we choose to, I remember, choose to murder our rivers? Everything you throw into the river. Why do you cut this, that, and the other, anyhow you want? So on. Nature will suffer. And in the end, they will hit back. So now, of course, there is environmental consciousness. And we got to thank some NGOs for bringing our attention to this matter. So we must develop, therefore, sustainable development by having rules and regulations and their observance according to standards set by the world, by experts on this matter.
So I have to wrap up the discussion, but I just want to squeeze in. The younger population seems to think very differently from the previous generation. The younger generation in Sarawak, the Gen Y, in your view?
Well, the old days and the old ways will not do. I remember in the old days, you say to the people, don't think about the candidate, think about the person behind him. At that time was, I think, Tun Razak, Tun Hussein, even Mahathir. So, in the poster, there's a picture of the candidate, and behind that picture of Mahathir or Tun Hussein or even Tun Razak at that time. And people say, and they will listen to you, they think, never mind the candidate, but he represents Tun Mahathir or Tun Razak, we get great respect for him. So they vote us because of that. But nowadays, I think it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, okay.
So that's one aspect of it. Two, the young people expect more action. More action, not just talk. They want more action. And they want to see fairness in dealing with them. They want jobs. They want good jobs. So that, how many left school every year? Thousands.
Yes.
School graduates and so on. So we have to provide jobs for them. And only by industrializing can we provide jobs for them. The old ways of agriculture, commodity, boleh lah, tapi not lucrative.
Thank you so much, Tan Sri, for making time to be on the Awani. Thank you so much. That was a special, exclusive interview with the Chief Minister of Sarawak. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in another episode of Agenda Awani very, very soon. Good night and goodbye.